believed to have escaped through the wall overnight, prompting a massive search. The photos show a dislodged toilet inside one of the cells and the words "too easy" scribbled above, pointing to a hole where they believe to have escaped.
There are 1,400 people in this jail, over the city council 1250 limit. So can you monitor every single person every day? No, we don't have the bodies to do that.
Deputies discovered the men were missing during a routine head count that prompted the jail to issue emergency protocols.
Based on video surveillance, they were seen exiting a door on the docks where we normally bring in supplies, scaling a wall and running across the interstate.
By noon, one of the inmates, Kendall Miles, was captured less than 3 miles away from the jail, hiding beneath a car. Miles is charged with attempted second-degree murder. The other inmates facing an array of charges from murder to aggravated assault. Officials believe the toilet could not be removed with bare hands, suggesting someone inside the jail system may have helped the inmates unscrew it with a power tool.
We have reason to believe that there was some assistance with this. That's why we're thoroughly investigating. We placed 3 individuals on administrative leave pending the outcome of this investigation.
The U.S. Marshals are helping local police with the manhunt, and the FBI is offering a $5,000 reward for tips that lead to the wanted men's capture. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
This is 2 Esdras, chapter 5, and verse 1. And it reads, "Nevertheless is coming the tokens. Behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith." First and foremost, as always, before I go ahead and get started, let me give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is the God of the living, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Baruch Rash, which is all praise to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahushai, and the Holy Spirit, whom is our strength and our Redeemer, and our light and our salvation. In the same tongue, Adamashina Kabwadium, Lahas Quanium, Shalom, God of Waraka, meaning double honors to the apostles and elder bishops, great millstone, and Shalom, honors and salutations to Bayashid Abadah, the house of David, representing 144,000 of the 1/3 elect remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the 1/3 elect men, women, and children of Israel. All right, fellow servant Malak Rayav, back at it again with another lesson through the spirit of prophecy, being a testimony of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahushai, who the master of the world, ignorantly referred to Jesus Christ. And is regarding some breaking news regarding 10 inmates whom are all Jakes, most likely all from the Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes, that recently escaped from New Orleans prison facility, all right, which is symbolic for a few different reasons. For one, it's further symbolic for the fact that that's a further omen, a further insight or omen of of oppression and corruption coming to an end. All right, and as well as rebellion, lawlessness intensifying and increasing and becoming the norm, in these last days, within these perilous times we're living in. All right, for the lawlessness will be normalized pretty soon. All right, case in point. All right, so it's very ironic that these 10 inmates had escaped from Louisiana, when as of recently, there was a I'm going to pull this up real quick. Yeah, there was the largest remaining plantation in the U.S. that recently burned down, which is the Nottoway slave plantation. All right, built by slaves, as in captives of Jerusalem. All right, back in the late 19th century. All right, which burned down in Louisiana, which I'm going to bring out some information on that. This says here, the Nottoway plantation in Louisiana which was the largest remaining antebellum mansion in the South, caught fire. Built in 1859, hundreds of enslaved persons built the plantation. The loss of Nottoway is not just a loss for Iberville, whatever that says there. It says, but for the entire state of Louisiana, officials said. All right. So a few days after, the largest remaining plantation built by slaves, okay, so mainly so-called Negroes collectively for the Southern Kingdom, all right, was burned down in the same state where these 10 inmates had recently escaped a Louisiana prison. It's further symbolic of our prison sentence coming to an end, as it speaks about in Lamentations, the 4th chapter, man. All right. So, man, if I'm going to get that. All right, this is Lamentations, chapter 4. I'm gonna get verse 21. Start at verse 21. The point is verse 22. Lamentations 4:21 says, "Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through into thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked as an exposed." All right. Why are you devils, you Edomites, being exposed? All right, because of your sinful nature. All right, the iniquity, the sin upon sin that you have drank. You have drank as water, meaning what? Proverbially emphasizing the fact that you have made iniquity, sin upon sin, the standard of living in America specifically. And this is why this is why corruption, and deception and hypocrisy, okay, is the base of your judgment system. All right, and this is why these 10 inmates escaping from that New Orleans prison is a further ensign and omen of the lawlessness that is getting ready to take place in America, Babylon the Great. All right, by way of the U.S. Constitution being suspended by this devil, Esau Edom. All right, rendering a lawless society out here because of wrong judgment proceeding, as it says in Habakkuk 1 and 4. Okay, so our people had to drink that cup of the Lord's indignation, including slavery, but part of the curses. And these curses are transferring over to Edomites and you other heathen nations, pursuant to Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And that's why we're witnessing the destruction of the main place for our captivity, America, Babylon the Great. So this is the point of Lamentations 4 and 22. The punishment of that iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And all right, and a part of that visitation of the Edomites was this fire that took place. All right, this fire that took place, man. Case in point. All right, it's like every time I exit this app, it resets within a certain amount of time. So, but a part of that visitation, once again, is that Nottoway slave plantation built by slaves captured Jerusalem, burning down. Further symbolic, which is further symbolic of our captivity being nearing its end. Okay, it's America's oldest plantation burns down. All right, down in Louisiana, the same state where those inmates had escaped. Because ultimately, this is why this is further symbolic, based off of this information here. It says the greatest prison has no bars, just a paycheck, a routine, and weekends off. Okay, he's talking about corporate America, how we slave for these wealthy corporations just to keep a roof over our head while we're making them wealthier. Okay, while we're suffering. Okay, suffering in the flesh by way of our bodies breaking down. All right, slaving for the damn devil, becoming poorer. Pursuing a Haggai 1 and 6. By putting money into holes in terms of and having to invest in these various expenses, including our bills, mortgage payments, rent payments, while this devil gets to continue to benefit off of our blood, sweat, and tears. And this is the fabric or the foundation of how America was established. So this is the apa, all right, meaning beautiful, to see the witness, the destruction of this place. So this is, all right, so we'll go ahead and continue in the book of Isaiah, chapter 24 and 4. And it reads, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Okay, including the epitome of haughty and pompous people, the Edomites. All right, the throne of iniquity, the rulers of the darkness of this world, whose wicked hands the earth was given into, pursuant to Job 9:24. So the word of the haughty is languishing. All these people that have developed or inherited Esau's mindset, okay, as haughty individuals, okay, adopting, and inheriting that false sense of living through the flesh, in terms of aspiring to be carnally wealthy or rich. All right, you're looking down on the poor, despising the poor. For example, these people are languishing. Why? Because as a master is, so is a servant. As a master is, so is a servant. Roughly paraphrasing Wisdom of Solomon 18:11. So this is Isaiah 24:5. It says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. So the people that are ruling this earth are not upholding the law, statutes, commandments of the first holy covenant, because it was never intended for them to uphold and to keep. All right, and to keep it, and to live through, but rather the laws of the land. All right, but through Esau's more decrees and policies, through his Bill of Rights, his constitutional laws, these various legislations of oppression. A part of these more decrees, including the 13th Amendment, okay, which is a moral decree that justifies the legalization of modern day slavery within a prison reform, within a prison industrial complex. And this is why that's why them 10 Jakes broke out of that prison, man, down in New Orleans. Jake is tired of Esau, okay, specifically Judah. It says in Genesis, the 49th chapter, all right, Judah is whom thy brethren shall praise, okay? And as it says in Genesis 49:9, what's going to take for Judah to rise up? So as Judah rises up against this beast system, okay, America, Babylon the Great, the main place of our captivity, the rest of the tribes are going to follow, just like they did in the 70s, okay, during the civil rights movement. Okay, we had the so-called Black Panther Party on behalf of the tribe of Judah, and rise up against this beast system, against this devil, Esau, Edom. All right, along with the young lords, okay, the modern-day Puerto Ricans representing the tribe of Ephraim. Then you had the American Indian movement representing the tribe of Gad, okay, the modern-day so-called Native American Indians. Then you had the Brown Beret, okay, representing the Chicano movement of the so-called Mexicans of the tribe of Issachar, okay. But it started with the so-called Black Panther Party. Then the other tribes started, recognizing their mutual enemy. And they started rising up against the common denominator of their oppression, the oppression of our people, the lost 12 tribes of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners. So with that situation that took place within New Orleans, of them 10 inmates, okay, all Israelites, okay, most likely of the tribe, of the Southern Kingdom, breaking out of that prison is further symbolic of the times we're living in, the downfall of this beast system of oppression and affliction. All right, this is Isaiah 24:5. The earth also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. All right, and it's really our people. Our people are guilty of this, because the law, statutes, commandments was given to us, and this is why in Jeremiah the 2nd chapter it speaks about how we taught the wicked their ways. Okay, Case in point, as an example of, Constantine the Great, a so-called Negro, all right, of the Southern Kingdom, all right, fusing biblical principles with paganism, okay, pagan idolatry, which created so-called the false image of Messiah known as Jesus Christ, all right, under the Nicene Council, within the Nicene Council, 325 AD. All right, then that legacy of pagan idolatry was adopted by the Edomites during the Renaissance period. All right, and then they started enslaving Jake soon after that. Taking Jake to Spain. Then they came over here to America, where the Northern Kingdom is predominantly dwelling, and forced that very religion on our people. You see, so the legacy of wickedness has continued to ensnare our people, but the Lord Yahweh by Shem Shah is preparing ensigns of the downfall of this oppression. Which is a great thing to rejoice in, man, because we further confirms we don't have very much longer here. So this is I'm going to grab Sirach 10. I'll start from the top. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 1. And it says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. All right. So Esau is not a wise judge. Why is that? This is Habakkuk 1 and 4. It says, therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. All right. The law, statutes, commandments of Yahweh by Shem Shah is slacked in this world. Why? Because the wicked are bearing rule. That's why the people are mourning, pursuing Proverbs 29 and 2, breaking out of prisons and whatnot, protesting against this devil, rioting against this devil, okay, looting in the midst of this devil's beast system. All signs of hopelessness, and our people are in which those very acts are being committed by our people, by a lot of our people, because they're hopeless, man. They don't know where to turn. They know they're oppressed and don't understand why they're oppressed. It don't get no worse than that. This further confirms that we are the people of the book, the people under the curses, the people of the righteous inheritance, whom the heavenly kingdom was promised for. So this is Habakkuk 1 and 4. Therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth, for the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. Okay, wrong, hypocritical, immoral, biased judgment predicated off of Edomite supremacy. Case in point, all right? And this is why, Jake can commit a heinous crime, or an Edomite can commit a heinous crime and get a slap on the wrist. But a Jake can commit the same crime and get the kitchen sink thrown at them, man, with no mercy within the court system, this Freemasonic court system. Because this world was this system, this beast system in America was intended to destroy us. To, including psychologically breaking us down to accept our oppression and affliction as a normal thing under Stockholm syndrome. To break the will of our people, to limit the resistance against oppression and affliction, man. So the fact that these 10 Jakes broke out of that prison is a further ensign and omen that Esau's spell, so to say, that enchantment of oppression and affliction is wearing off. It says in Isaiah the 19th chapter, right? The spirit of bondage is failing them. All right, these modern day magistrates, these modern day Chaldeans, okay. Regarding referring to the warlocks that the Chaldeans are known of. During the Neo-Syrian Empire, or the Neo-Babylonian Empire, rather, the Assyrians were ruling, known as the Chaldeans. Regarding the warlocks of them, the modern day Chaldeans are these wicked Zionist international crime banking families. All right, who's been benefiting off of the source of their strength, which has always been discretion. Okay, operating as a shadow government. So, selecting these presidents and different political officials and whatnot, to do their satanic bidding, including these cops. So that's why it's through the spirit that the New Orleans law enforcement, is speculating that, them 10 inmates breaking out of that New Orleans prison being an inside job. Why? Because it's just another sign of corruption in this beast system. Further confirming what? That the so-called nice guy finishes last. You see? You know, to just further expose that, you know, that false notion of doing everything right in terms of being a law-abiding citizen, and to go out there and be a productive, quote unquote, productive member of society, this Western society. All right. You know, for example, being, being in that humanitarian spirit, for example. All right. But really, in all actuality, the only way, the duties of men is to praise Yahweh by Hashem Hashai. And so while we're here in this flesh, we just move with wisdom. Wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Pay your taxes to avoid, tax evasion. All right. Put on your damn seatbelt when you're driving around. All right. To avoid an accident, to avoid death, to avoid at the very least, to avoid a penalty from Esau through a ticket. Okay, like Yahweh said, render into Caesar what belongs to Caesar while we're still in Caesar's rulership. Okay, but the 2/3 of our people, they're gonna do what them Tim Inmates did, and it's all a part of Shalom to Akim and the Kama Boy Yah by Shemi Shabrak Thumb. All right. So is it, but 2/3 of our people is also, 2/3 of our people rising up against this beast system is also, a spiritual ensign. Why? Because it's prophetic that this is, this was to happen. All right. So, Shalom to Akim and the Kama Boy Yah by Shemi Shabrak Thumb. All right, this is back in Salaki if I was ranting, but this is back in Sirach 10:1. It says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As a judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. Read that again. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. All right, that's why these modern day Roman centurions, these Esau's law enforcement, these cops, all right, are they're trained to oppress and afflict Jake even to the point of death. Okay, that's far-fetched to Jake because Jake is constantly looking for Esau's validation. It says, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. Once again, as it says in Wisdom of Solomon 18:11. Get that real quick. All right, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 18 and verse 11, and it says, the master and the servant were punished after one manner, and like as the king, so suffered the common person, because the king is wicked and corrupt. Going back to Habakkuk 1:4. All right. Which says, therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth, and wrong judgment, further proceeds through these immoral decrees to further incite and normalize crime and confusion, catastrophe, mayhem, and wickedness. Okay. So that such as this information, this report that came out about 6 years ago. During Trump's first administration. It's on Fox News entitled, Exclusive: Violent Criminals and Sex Offenders Released Early Due to Quote-Unquote First Step Act Legislation. Okay, it says more than 100 violent criminals and sex offenders have been released under the First Step Act, President DJT's signature bipartisan criminal justice reform package, according to data from an administration official provided to Fox News on Monday, all right, back in 2019. All right, around that time, there was a Jake, a Northern Kingdom Jake, that escaped from prison. Now you have 10 Jakes, most likely all from the Southern Kingdom, that escaped from that New Orleans prison, man. These are the manner of men that predominantly dwell in this society, okay, which is godless, ravenous men who don't have any who don't have anything to lose. These are the manner of men that are going to be out here in the midst of Jacob's trouble. wreaking havoc, okay, upon a society, including you women. All right, you Jezebel harlots out here, all right, who don't understand what time we're living in. You're going to wind up within the hands of these very men. This is who Trump was releasing into the back into the society back in 2019, man. So this says, the data says the data first obtained exclusively by Tucker Carlson tonight seemingly contradicted promises from lawmakers in the White House that the legislation will largely affect only prisoners sentenced for minor drug-related offenses. 2,243 inmates released under the First Step Act, only 960 were incarcerated for drug-related offenses. On the other hand, 496 were in prison for weapons, explosives-related crimes, 239 for sex offenses, 178 for fraud, bribery, and extortion charges, 118 for burglary, larceny, and 106 for robbery, according to the data. Says in all 2023, the inmates were male, while only 211 inmates were female. 1,017 of the 2,243 inmates are black. Okay, all right. Because whom this prison industrial complex was intended to enslave under the 13th Amendment, another moral decree. Okay, to legalize modern day slavery. And this lines up with Isaiah 42 verses 22 to 24. Our people to be thrown in prison houses. So it says, of the 2,243 inmates are black, while, quote unquote, black, while 1,129 are so-called white. All right, Edomites, 62 American Indian, okay, Gadites, and 35 Asian Pacific Islander, okay, which a lot of them are Japhites. All right, the modern day Polynesians. Says the Justice Department announced last Friday that 3,100 federal inmates were being released as part of the First Step Act, which has been heralded by Senator Cory Booker as a start to righting a broken criminal justice system that has disproportionately harmed communities of color. Well, this backfired because they were releasing a lot of criminals, including a lot of grapists, man. It's just said here, okay? At least 239 of them. It was actually more than that. It jumped down. Yep, it says, and now we find out that in the first tranche of prisoners left free, 500 committed weapons of or explosive crimes. 250 committed sex crimes. You see? So, a good number of these inmates that were released could be, could be guilty of, or be very capable of those very crimes, man. So that's another omen of the lawless society that we're entering. When the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah allows Esau to end this constitution, these are the kind of spirits that are going to be running amok out here, or specifically through these godless, ravenous men who don't have anything to lose due to the hopelessness in the system, without the love of the truth. All right, which is the true source of our hope, that we have the kingdom of heaven to look after, to look for. So this is, let's go back here. Sirach 10 and 2. It says, as a judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. All right. And this is why here in Isaiah chapter 51 in verse 20, it says, thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in a net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, the rebuke of thy power. All right, because in the spiritual warfare, the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai also controls the left-hand side. It says in Isaiah 45 and 7, controlling that darkness, hence controlling the spiritual demon Shaitan and his demons. Okay? And these very unclean spirits, these demons, okay, are unleashed upon certain people outside of the elect of Israel, okay, to wreak havoc on a wicked society, okay, as a part of the judgment on that society, as it says here in Sirach 39 and 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In a time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Now, they said that they caught one of the escaped inmates in New Orleans prison that was hiding under a car. Okay, but they as of yet, it hasn't been reported that they found the other ones, man. So the more time that those other 9 inmates are out there, okay, the more the higher the chances are that they can further unleash havoc, okay, on society. All right, I'm going to click on this, see there's a report, update.
Will also include live performances and food trucks.
Okay, they're going live right now. It's on ABC Philadelphia. It doesn't appear there's a report yet on whether or not they caught those other 9 inmates. As of yet, they haven't, as it was seen, but they've caught one of them already. But as I said, those other 9, the more time that they're out there free, the higher the chances that they're gonna be used, and that they could be used, by Yahweh Shemeshai, to further wreak havoc on the society, man, and possibly, claim more lives. All right, out of spite, you know what I'm saying, and so forth. All right. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 27. It says, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched." Okay, so the further indication that we're living at the end of this evil society within Esau's empire, America, Babylon the Great. They hammered the entire earth. All right, the golden city, the oppressing city, okay, is an increase in influx of crime and corruption. Okay, another omen of lawlessness. So this is verse 9, and it says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." So these are further ensigns of Esau, Edom's downfall. All right. Wickedness increasing in the earth, and the effect, the effect of wickedness increasing in the earth. All right, through hopelessness, okay, anguish, resentment, anxiety, rebellion. Okay, which is going to further manifest in a time of Jacob's trouble, a time of civil unrest, further fueled by racial tensions. All right, this is why the Republicans are talking about removing a lot of these low-income families from Medicaid, which is going to affect a lot of Jake and a lot of you Eve that rely on this beast system and relying on Esau. So as this system goes down, the majority of people that rely on this system are going to go down with it. Okay, except for the elect. All right, who put their trust in Yahweh by Shemeshai. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it off on a note, and to pray this lesson is further edifying his order to elect, and give all praises, glory, infinite honor. All right, to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom was the God of the living, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, Wadash. All right, and with that, a Bob Ball, soon, very soon. Shalom to Akim on the comment board. All right, shalom. All right, to the to the elect across the 4 corners of the earth. All right, a Bob Ball, soon and very soon. All right, shalom to the elect.